What is up, guys? Oh my god, I'm gonna record a video while driving. Maybe I can put it right here. Oh yeah, I can totally put it right here. Can't really see my face too well. I'm gonna apologize in advance, guys. I already know, like, this video, I'm not gonna make a lot of eye contact, obviously, because I'm driving on the freaking freeway. But sometimes you just get thoughts, and sometimes you just need to pull out the phone and actually make the video. So I'm gonna make a video because, I'm driving to Austin right now, and I've had some time, highway hypnosis. You're driving and you're not distracted, and you're just sitting with your thoughts. And a big thing for me is, I definitely want to be married one day, and I'm not at that point yet. I'm 33. I always figured I would have been married by now. It's always something I figured that would have happened to me, like just played out. But it hasn't yet. And I'm still hopeful that it will. Even as trashy as modern dating and modern society is, and the state of men and women right now, I'm still hopeful. But I decided I'd do a little story time with you guys and be a little vulnerable, and we're gonna have a talk with Big Papa Stark here about breakups. And I'm gonna talk to you guys about every lesson I've learned from every breakup I've been in, because I have learned a lot. Every relationship has taught me something, and I'm gonna go ahead and share it with you guys. So get ready. It might be a little bit of a long one, but this is gonna be story time, and I hope you find some value in it, guys. And it's just me, you, on this freeway. This is gonna be a fun one. So, yeah, man. So I was a late bloomer, definitely. I had the self-esteem of a turtle growing up. I was that nerdy, chubby kid, low self-esteem. I would sit at the reject table where all the kids who didn't have a table sat at, so you'd have your little community, and that was literally me growing up. So low self-esteem, abysmally low self-esteem. There was a girl who was into me in middle school. I freaked the fuck out, didn't know what to say. There was a girl who was into me in high school, again, freaked the fuck out, didn't know what to say. Had a crush on some girl in high school, walked up to her because today was the day I was finally going to talk to her. I think I was a senior already. I went up, I said she was cute, and then I freaked the fuck out and walked away. So awkward, dude. So fucking awkward. But those are my humble beginnings, guys. First kiss was not until age 19. 19 years old. Had my first kiss. It's also, ironically, the year I started drinking. And then I finally got my first girlfriend. So my mindset prior to that was, I'm just going to wait for the perfect one, for the right girl. I'm going to save myself. I'm not going to date around. I'm not going to be like everybody else who's had 3 or 4 girlfriends already. But then I'm 19 and I realized everybody else has had 3 or 4 boyfriends and girlfriends at this point, and most people have lost their virginity. And then I kind of just lost hope of the waiting for the perfect girl. But now looking back on it, I realize that's a stupid idea, because you need dating experience. You don't just wake up and you're not just magically good with women and dating and relationships without having tried it a couple times. So the odds of the first one working out and being the perfect relationship is very, very low, guys. Very, very low. Unless you're just really lucky and you guys both grow together. But there's a lot of trial and error when it comes to dating and relationships. So anyways, I finally met my first girlfriend. We'll call her Kay. She was an Hispanic girl. She was curvy. She was cute. That is the girl I lost my virginity to. Yeah, definitely lost my virginity to that girl. And I really wasn't the most interested in her at first, but she was super interested in me. Like I said, I was at this point where I'm just all right, everybody's had 4 or 5 boyfriends and girlfriends. I haven't had one yet. Here's a girl who's interested in me. Even though I wasn't completely into her, I decided, why not? Let me give it a go. I was young, I was dumb. Went into a relationship with this girl. And it was an okay relationship, for 2 years. Things were good, there wasn't really anything bad about the relationship, but there wasn't really anything great about the relationship. It was kind of just like this little flat line. It wasn't exciting. I wasn't really the most attracted to her, and I really wasn't the most into her. And I was really into fitness and bodybuilding, and she was, gaining weight and just wanted to eat junk food and fast food all the time. So our values weren't really aligned looking back on it. And I tried to get her to go to the gym, and I tried to get her to be in the fitness life with me, but it was just polar opposites. And then eventually I realized man, I don't want to just settle down with the very first person I've been with, It wasn't like a terrible relationship, but I knew there was something else for me. So then I ended it, and I ended it like a little bitch, guys. I ended it over text. I think I broke up with her probably twice, because I kept getting back with her, because then she would want me back, and I just couldn't say no. So then I get suckered back into the relationship. And then after 2 years, I finally was able to break up with her over text like a little bitch. I mean, I was 21 at the time. Definitely not the man I am now. Not proud of it at all, but you live and you learn, and you grow from these kinds of things. So yeah, and honestly, it wasn't the right relationship for me, so I'm okay that I let her go. And I knew it wasn't the right one for me. But what I learned from that first relationship was to not date and get into a relationship with someone you're not interested into like that. Don't waste your time. It wasn't that big of a deal when I was young. I was 19 to 21. But going back now, I probably wouldn't have even gone into a relationship with her. I would have just tested the waters and waited for a girl that I was actually a little bit more excited about, But you live and you learn. So that's the first lesson. The first lesson is, don't go into a relationship with someone or date someone you're not really that interested in. Just to do it, just because you haven't had a relationship, just because you're lonely, or just because you want sex. Those aren't reasons to be with someone, guys. So fast forward to the second relationship. Again, this makes sense to me now, but I don't think I had processed the lesson back after that breakup. I just broke up and moved on, but now I can see the lesson behind it. It's kind of weird how these things work. So then the second girl, we'll call her L. This girl was crazy, man. She was so freaking into me. And again, I wasn't really into her like that, but because I wasn't into her, she was just so into me, so seductive, always wanted to have sex. I wasn't trying to be her boyfriend, but then after I don't know, 5 or 6 months, and actually, no, I was talking to this girl that I was really craving and into some other girl at college. So she wasn't my first pick, but she was the girl that I was sleeping with and talking to. I wasn't sleeping with the other girl. The other girl barely even knew I existed. But then I'm just one day, okay, I gotta go tell the other girl how I feel. I go up and tell the other girl how I feel. Ended up just getting completely rejected and blown out of the water. And then I was oh shit. So then I guess my self-esteem took a hit, but I still had L, because we had still been doing things for 5 months. So then I said, okay, fuck it, whatever. At least I tried with the girl I really wanted, but this is the girl that's here, so let me go into a relationship with her. Big mistake. This girl, at the time, I had only slept with 3 women. It was my first girlfriend, and then there was one other hookup in college, or maybe 2 hookups, I don't know. I had only slept with 3 or 4 girls at this time. My number was very, very low. And then I started going out with this girl. And then, I don't know why guys do this, but we do. I don't care about asking about a girl's past now. I don't care about a girl's number now, but back then I did. So then I ask her, what's your number? How many guys have you been with? And then, oh my God, dude, she's literally just gives me the answer that just blows me out of the water. I had only been with 3 or 4 people at that point. She had been with 20 something people at that point, and we're freaking 20 or 21 guys. It was ridiculous. So I was just blown out of the water, so insecure. That seed of all the guys that she had been with was planted in my head, and then after that I couldn't be comfortable in that relationship ever again. I don't think it would have worked out. She had anger issues. We would fight all the time. She had a way of getting under my skin and making me want to argue that I just couldn't. No other girl could ever do that to me. And to this day, no other girl has made me that mad. But yeah, dudes, as soon as I gave her the girlfriend title, it's funny, the sex stopped. She would give me a bunch of sex and want to seduce me, and then once I gave her the title, that stopped. Now that's not the lesson here. I think that's just how some girls are. They use sex to get you in, to lure you in, but when they have you, then they just oh, I don't need to put out anymore. And that's not a girl you want to be with. You want to be with someone who actually wants to consistently have sex and make love with you. And not that the relationship's just about sex, but just because that's what healthy relationships should be. You should be intimate with your partner, It shouldn't shut down. But then also the guy thing, the fact that she'd been with so many guys, like at the time, that was like the seed of insecurity and then doubt. And then before I realized it, man, I'm just so insecure. I'm always throwing it in her face. I'm always starting fights. I'm always like worried about who she's with or who she's hanging out with. And then I'm snooping through her Facebook. Again, this is 21-year-old me. I don't do any of this shit now. But the relationship crashed and burned. And of course, it should have crashed and burned. And granted, you could probably say like, oh, dude, that girl was trash. She'd been with so many guys at that time. Yeah, that's fine. But the lesson that I've learned from that is that, you know, guys, like most girls do have a past. But don't ask them about it. It really doesn't matter. Like it matters. Like if there's like some relationship stuff that happened to them that impacts your relationship, sure, I want to know about it. That's cool. But I don't need to know all 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 guys that you fucked. I don't need that stress or that drama in my relationship because that just plants the seed of insecurity, the seed of massive doubt. I mean, I could probably be with a girl now and if she told me she'd been with 30 guys, I probably wouldn't care. But I'm not going to ask because I really don't care. It doesn't matter because when you're in a relationship with a woman, it's about you and her from this point onward moving forward. Like the guys from the past, guys, those were the guys that were there before you were there. Like that was before you. Everything before you shouldn't matter. If those guys are still around and like lingering and hitting her up, different story. But the point here and the lesson is that the girl's past, like don't even fucking like ask. Like don't ask if you don't want to know the answer because the answer might be something you just cannot look past. You might ruin a good relationship. Like, you know, maybe your girl slept with like 25 guys or whatever, but she hasn't slept with anybody in 3 years. And then you get together, but then you find out about her past. And then you just can't look at her the same way or love her, even though she's done the work and she's stopped lusting. Like, don't put yourself in that kind of situation. But that being said, I know a lot of guys don't want to be with girls who slept with a lot of people. And that's a touchy subject because a lot of the girls these days have slept with a lot of people. And it's hard, man. And it's a shitty thing to deal with. But it's a cycle, guys, because like us men, we can sometimes be a little bit hypocritical. Like we don't want to be with a girl who's fucked a lot of guys, but then we typically are just down to fuck a lot of girls, not realizing that by going out and fucking a lot of girls, we're creating a lot of girls who have fucked a lot of guys. So it's perpetuating the cycle that we don't like. So if we want this shit to change, we need to change as men. And I have changed as men. I don't go do casual sex anymore. I don't fuck around. I'm not trying to hook up with anybody because I realize the paradox of the problem, and like it's never going to get better unless we set the standard, man. Like it's not going to get better unless we set the standard. And once we can conquer our lust and stop just fucking around these girls and making all these hoes, like then more of us can actually find the relationships we want. Just something to think about, food for thought. But that's what I think about. And, you know, I'm not going to be part of the problem perpetuating the cycle of promiscuity among the females. Like, I mean, I'd love to, of course. Who wouldn't like to have sex, like, for real? But I'm not going to play that game anymore because I've grown from it. So the lesson number 2 from the second girl is the past, dude. Leave the past in the past. Don't go looking for seeds of insecurity and seeds of doubt in your relationships. Now, after her, we have relationship 3, which I'm going to call E. And this one was like, oh my God, like the textbook romance story. So the third girl was actually the girl I was into before I went out with the second girl, my second girlfriend. So remember, I told you I had a huge crush on this girl. I wanted this girl. I told her how I feel. She rejected me. Me and Elle were done. And then like a year or 2 later, like, I don't know, this girl E hits me up out of the blue because she had met like a mutual friend of ours who talked about me. And then she's like, oh, I remember, he's kind of a nice guy. So then we went out, and then I don't know what happened, but we hit it off. It ended up turning into like just this crazy, like textbook, amazing 2.5, almost 3-year relationship for me. Because it was like, this was the girl I had a crush on for like a year or 2 in college, and I tried to get with her and she didn't get with me, but then I finally got with her and I won her over, and I was into 2-stepping and country dancing. So I would take her out and she was like, wow, you got so confident. And she was just really digging me, and this girl was just good, man. And that relationship kind of fucked me up because it was good until it wasn't good. And at the time I was convinced this is the girl I'm going to marry. Like, hands down, this is the girl I'm going to marry. I'm okay not sleeping with any other women. This is the girl that I want to be with. But like I said, it was good until it wasn't good. And maybe there were signs there that I didn't pick up on at the time. But all I know is one day she told me she loved me. She left the house that day and said she was going out with some friends that night. And then she doesn't come home that night. And then I get a text the next day like, hey, some other guy asked me to go steady and I'm going to start seeing him instead. And we're done, basically. And that shit broke me. That broke me so fucking hard. Like, even talking about it, it's hard. It's hard to talk about because, you know, it's just like, what the fuck? Like 2.5, 3 years and it's like so head over heels for this person. And then like to just get blown out of the water like that, like in a day, like in a fucking day. Like, I didn't know what to do. I think that's around the time I discovered YouTube and I was watching like some Elliot Holt's breakup videos and just trying to like figure shit out. But all the breakup videos I found were just like, hey, like, don't beg. Begging is the neediest thing you can do. And at that point, like, she was already with somebody else. Like, I'm not going to chase her. So I walked away, even though I didn't want to walk away. And I think we texted and talked a few times in like the coming months and maybe got like dinner like once. But it was the craziest thing because this girl was kind of unstable too. Like, she was on psych meds. That's the thing though. I didn't really understand mental health back then. Like, I thought everything was good, but this girl was on psych meds. She never really seemed crazy to me, but she was on a bunch of like psych meds and had trouble with anxiety and her moods and shit. I didn't start feeling anxiety until much later in life, so I didn't understand it back then. And also I was young, you know, I wasn't the man I was now. But just to have that shit happen to you, man, it blew me out of the fucking water, bros. Like, blew me out of the water, and I was a fucking wreck, man. I was a wreck for like 6 months to a year. It took me so long to like get my confidence back and get my shit together. And I think that's around the time my drinking started to escalate. Now, my drinking at this time wasn't a problem, but it would end up being a problem later on in my life. But dude, that relationship fucked me up. And it was so hard to make peace with it. And the lesson that I ultimately learned is real love is letting go, dudes. It's not possession. It's not keeping somebody. It's not always having somebody. Real love is just the willingness to let go and want what's best for the other person, even if that person isn't you. And after like, 6 months to a year of like fucking heartbreak and what did I do wrong and how could I have fixed it and wanting her back. And actually, fun fact, guys, the guy she left me for, she left that guy for another guy like a month later. Like, she left me and then a month later she had already left that guy and she was with another guy. And then like, I think like 2 or 3 months later, she was engaged to this other guy, which was the crazy part. And the funny thing is that he was like, I don't know, some like doctor, but he looked almost exactly like me, but just like the white version. It was so weird. Like, he had like very similar facial structures, and I'm just like, you're marrying some guy who looks like me, question mark. I don't think she realized that, but I don't know. That's probably why she felt comfortable with him. But anyway, it was so fucked up, dude. Like, love of your life. 3 months later, she's engaged to somebody else, but she'd already been with 2 other dudes, and just a shitty situation. And then I think after 6 months to a year of just like confidence being like absolute dog shit and just drinking and self-isolation and just like hating my fucking life, I finally snapped out of it and I realized that like it wasn't a waste. It wasn't a waste. A lot of people will think that their time with someone is a waste, but it wasn't. The reality is it was good until it wasn't good, and I'm okay with that. I made peace with it. It was good until it wasn't good, and I haven't talked to that girl in years. I'm never going to talk to that girl again. But, it taught me what love was. And love is just the willingness to walk away and just let that person go. And that's something that I've carried with me to this day that makes all breakups much easier to deal with, is that, I let go with love. I never break up with hate. I never break up with hate or despise or wanting to hurt or harm someone else or wishing ill will on them. Like, even if they do bad to me, I don't care. My response is like, hey, okay, whatever. I love you, bye. Like, that's it. Like, just because I love you doesn't mean I need you in my life, and doesn't mean I'm not willing to let you go. So it really taught me how to let go and gave me a deeper appreciation of what love actually is. So that was like the third relationship, guys, and I wish the lessons ended there, but they haven't. That was around age 25, 26 when I went through that breakup. The drinking picked up, I think, around my mid-20s. That's kind of when I got into pickup and game, and I was just going back to the bars. Like, after my self-esteem and confidence came back after that relationship, I just started going out, and I was just picking up women, and I was dating, and I was having a lot of sex and hooking up with random girls, and doing the shit all guys want to do at some point in their life. And in your 20s, that's usually the thing you want to do. You're not quite ready to settle down, and you need to, it's like a guy thing. You need to prove to yourself that you can date and talk to women, but a lot of guys get trapped there and they never stop, and they just keep chasing the pussy for the rest of their lives, and there's no fulfillment in between a woman's legs. Like, real talk, there's no fulfillment between a woman's leg. It feels good, it's great, but it's not going to fix all your problems, and it's not going to make you the man you need to be. Like, it's great, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic, but peace is not found in a bottle. It's not found between a woman's legs. It's not found at the end of a blunt. It's found in here, guys. It's found in your heart, in your soul, and your mission and your purpose as a man. But let's keep going. So then I had this phase in like my mid-20s where I was drinking a lot and partying and hooking up. And then I'll never forget, like, I had this week, guys, where I slept with 3 really gorgeous, hot women in the span of like a week. And it was ridiculous. Like, I'd have one girl over, she would like leave at like 6 p.m. and then some other girl would hit me up saying she was in my apartments or at my apartment complex. And then she'd come over at like 7, like some real like hoe shit. But like, none of these were like my girlfriends. They were just girls I was talking to. So like, I'm like hooking up with these girls, and then I realized, like, man, I've had sex with 3 different really hot girls in the span of a week. And the confidence from that was crazy. Like, I felt like I was fucking Drake. I was like, damn, look at me go. I'm worth a shit. I've got something going on. That's fucking cool. But then after like 2 or 3 weeks of that high from like actually, like hooking up and shit, I realized, okay, like, I proved to myself that I could be good with women. I proved to myself that I could get beautiful girls. I proved to myself that I could sleep with multiple women. And that's the kicker, guys. After I did that, I realized how fucking empty I felt. And I realized that I didn't want to fuck around. I didn't want to hook up with random women. I didn't want to just have sex with just anybody. That's when I realized, like, man, I actually just want a relationship. I'm a one-woman man, and I think I've always been a one-woman man. And I got caught up into the society's, the hookup culture, the pickup culture, wanting to have sex, instant gratification. I got roped into that because I wasn't thinking for myself. But then I started thinking for myself, and then I realized, like, man, I don't really care about hooking up with girls anymore. I want an actual relationship. And I was sad that I wasn't in an actual relationship. And there were some other things that were going on. Like, I hurt my leg. I had this nerve injury to my leg. To this day, I still don't have complete function of my leg. Like, I can't properly engage my left calf muscle because it's damaged. And I went to like 4 or 5 different doctors. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. I'm also a nurse, and I work in the medical system. So I kind of just felt betrayed by like my profession. Like, I need help, but no one can help me. But I'm here helping other people. And it was dark. I think the combination of just my leg injury and just not being in a relationship, and just, I don't know, it caused me to withdraw. It caused me to start drinking more. It caused me to stay in and start playing more video games. I stopped going out. And ironically, when I deleted all the dating apps and stopped actually dating girls and talking to girls, that's when I met my next girlfriend. So we'll call this one S. So I actually met her at a party, and it was kind of crazy because I was like 99% not going to go to this costume party, even though I had this awesome Thor costume, because I had to go to work the next morning. And I'm like, if I go to this party, I can only stay for like 30 minutes, and I got to like leave and bounce, go to bed for work tomorrow. But then I'm like, oh my God, F it. I was already in bed. I was about to pass out. And I'm like, nah, let me just go for 30 minutes. I have this cool costume. Let me just go show it off. So then I go to this party, and then I meet S. Like, the first person I meet there, S. She's really cool, really nerdy. And she wants me to take her out for coffee. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. She's into me. So then we start going out, and then that ends up being the next girl I date. And this girl was actually pure. She was a virgin, guys. I waited months before I had sex with her because I'm like, oh shit, you're a virgin. But she was like, I want to lose my virginity now. I'm like, no. And the crazy part is she was 28 or 29. She was my age, guys, and she was still a virgin. That was insane, and it blew my mind. So I wanted to be special. I didn't want to just take it from her. And then after a few months, we started having sex, and it was a pretty good relationship, guys. It wasn't the best. She wasn't the hottest girl. And we didn't have a lot of sex. She wasn't really that high of a sex drive. We didn't have sex all the time, but we could just hang out and kick it, and things would be chill for hours on end. And it was cool, guys. It was cool, and I was okay with it. And then, I had actually met this girl's family, and this is the first girl whose family I actually met, and they were all really cool, very successful, wealthy people, loved to drink, and I loved to drink at the time, even though I was kind of spiraling without realizing it. So yeah, I'm cool with her. I'm cool with her family. I'm going with her and her family on family trips. Her family loves me. They're well off. They're they have this house that's a mansion with a jacuzzi, and it's just very nice to just be with someone who's got all this stuff going on. But like I said, I had started drinking heavier in my 20s, and I hadn't done the work to check the habit and to check my vice, because drinking at this time was still my vice. Taking Adderalls was still my vice to function. And I was slowly, even though I had the relationship, something that I've always wanted, I was still losing myself. I was losing myself to alcohol. I was losing myself to Adderall. My mental health was just spiraling worse throughout that relationship. And it's nothing was wrong really with my life, but because of my leg injury, and I think the breakup in my middle 20s, I was already on this trajectory of coping and using way too much alcohol and pills and Adderall to function. So I'm going through this period where I'm drinking way too fucking much. I'm emotionally unstable. And this girl, she was actually sweet to me as much as she could be. When I'd be depressed, she'd be there for me. When I'd be down, she would come over. When I had insomnia, she would come bring little things to help me fall asleep. During COVID, she brought me little gift baskets. This girl was sweet, and I regret that I wasn't in a good place to actually treat her well, because I literally just kept spiraling. I kept drinking. The negative thoughts kept consuming me. I couldn't be grateful or even realize what I had at the time, because I wasn't good with me. I was always strung out on pills. I was strung out on alcohol. I was seeing a psychiatrist because I was getting just really fucking depressed, and I was on these antidepressants. And the end result, guys, was that I was just emotionally unstable, dudes. I was so fucking unstable. And I would just get depressed, and I would just drink myself and be hungover for 3 days straight, and I'd go on these benders, and eventually, after a year of us being together, I fucked it up, because I went out and I'd been drinking for 2 days straight. I wrecked my car. I wanted to actually commit suicide. I didn't do it. I blew out both my tires. I punched my windshield in because I wasn't acting like myself. I was on antidepressants, and I was taking these Adderalls, and I was drinking a lot of alcohol to try to make myself feel better, and I was stressed out about life, and I couldn't even tell you what all I was stressed out about. I wasn't in a good place, and I didn't realize when I had lost myself. I got to this place where there was no joy. I was apathetic. I had no interests. I would just drink, go to work, and I called in a lot to work too, because a lot of times I was just too hungover to even show up to work. I'm drinking, I'm playing Call of Duty, and I'm taking these pills, and if I want to go to work, I need fucking Adderall to function. Otherwise, I'm not going to go to work. And as a result, dude, every night I'm going to sleep, I'm listening to this emo ass suicidal rap, Lil Peep, and all these like really dark songs, and I'm just like circling the drain, you know. I'm in this relationship, but I'm just not good with me. And eventually, like after that bad night where I like wrecked my car and I sent out like a suicidal text to like 8 different fucking people, and I don't think I've ever shared this fucking story with anybody. Like, I didn't actually try to kill myself, but I was so fucking belligerent and pissed drunk that I sent text out to a bunch of people. And then she called me once. I didn't pick up because I was way too fucked up. But that was the last time I actually ever heard from her. After that, she ghosted me. She blocked me and everything. And I never got a conversation. To this day, I've never got a conversation or talked to that girl. This was probably like 3 years ago now. And I will never forget, guys. Like, I woke up that next morning so cold, so empty. Both my tires on my car were blown to shit because I was swerving all over the road. Don't know how I didn't get pulled over. When I came home that night, I literally punched the shit out of my windshield with my bare hands. My hands were bloody and like covered with glass, and my windshield was shattered. I ended up running inside and getting like this Thor hammer from my cosplay, which is kind of like hard. And then I came back and I finished breaking my freaking windshield. And then the next day I woke up and I remember I was so cold and empty. I didn't want to look at my phone. I looked at my phone, and the crazy thing is, like, I had sent out a bunch of suicidal texts to people. I got a couple like, hey man, are you okay? Is everything good? But nobody came to save me, guys. Nobody came to my house. Nobody came out of their way to come check up on me. And not even the girlfriend at the time. Like, nobody came. And that was the biggest fucking eye-opener, guys. And the lesson I've learned from this relationship / from drinking was that I woke up, I was so empty. I just got a bottle of Goldschlager and I laid in bed and I kept drinking that day. And then I was hungover for 4 days, and then I went to the airport because I was going on a trip to see my sister. That was the last day I ever drank, because I realized I went to the airport, I got a shot of Dos Equis. No, I drank a Dos Equis and like a double shot of whiskey, and this was like 5 days since I had heard from this girl. And I'd realized all the shit I've done. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I'm blowing out my car tires. I'm breaking my windshield. I'm throwing away my fucking health. I'm throwing away my fucking life. I don't even want to like live anymore half the time. I'm so depressed. I sent out these texts. Nobody came. And I cannot forget the emptiness I felt in that moment. It was profound. And I think what I realized in my darkest moment was that nobody was going to come fucking save me. Nobody was coming to save me. Nobody. Like, amidst the insanity and my mental health being dog shit, I fucking realized, like, nobody is coming to fucking save me. And while I had probably tried to quit and cut back on alcohol like 100 times before, that ended up being the rock bottom that actually did it for me. And the crazy thing is, guys, like, I had been like maybe 3 weeks sober. Fast forward like 3 weeks, I was expecting to, have a phone call or talk with the girl at the time. But then I called her, and then I realized I was blocked. I called her from a different number. Ringtone went through. But at the same time, I'm like, oh shit, she blocked me on everything. Like, I'm not going to be that guy who just reaches out even though I'm blocked on everything, like, being together over a year and getting ghosted, that hurt. That fucking sucked. I was like 16 days sober at the time, or 3 weeks, I don't know, but I remember the impulse. Like, I fucking broke down, man. Like, I wanted to go straight to the liquor store and buy a bottle of vodka and just go drink on a park bench somewhere, even though I was at my sister's place still. I just wanted to go fucking drown it away. Like, the trigger, like, when I realized I was blocked on everything, like, I wanted to go fucking drink. And then I ended up going for a really long walk. I walked like 2 hours, ended up at like this baseball park, and there were some bleachers. I sat on the fucking bleachers and I cried. I fucking cried, guys. I cried like the worst cry I've probably ever had in my life. And I literally just cry it out there on the bleachers, like in public for like an hour or two. And then I went home, and then, I just carried on. I stayed on my path. I stayed on, my grind of meditating and focusing on myself and getting off the antidepressants and getting off the Adderall and quitting all the pills and all the meds. And fast forward to today, been almost 3 years later, sober as fuck, emotionally stable, life is good, I have joy again, I have excitement again, I am a man I am proud of. But it took that shit blowing up in my face to wake me the fuck up. And the lesson I think I learned from that relationship was that I am never going to fuck up another relationship by using substances or drinking alcohol. I am never going to surrender my mental stability to alcohol, drugs, anything. I'm never going to fuck up my life again under the influence. And it was a hard lesson to learn. I lost out on, like a pretty good relationship and like a really cool family. And it fucking hurt. And it still kind of hurts to this day. Like, I've processed it now. I can talk about it. It's not the worst shit ever. But man, what a fucking wild ride, dude. Like, but at the end of the day, like, that really helped me get sober. That was like some motivation. But there's a lot of things I was doing, like a lot of planning and prep work, and like I did a lot besides that to help me get sober. But that rock bottom was like the worst rock bottom. And the moment I realized, and even though I had plenty of rock bottoms, like, that one was finally bad enough to where I was like, dude, wake the fuck up, dude. Alcohol is no longer serving you. Like, it makes you become someone you're not. So now I don't bring that guy out anymore. I don't bring that man out anymore. He is right here. The beast is locked away, lock and key, and he ain't ever coming out. He knocks sometimes. Sometimes he'll knock, and I'll hear it. But he ain't coming out. He is not coming out. So that was what I learned from, my fourth relationship. And then the fifth one, which actually just ended a few days ago. And we'll call this girl S as well, S2. This girl, all right, this is kind of what happened. The short version is, after the last girl and I quit drinking alcohol, I also took a break from dating and hooking up. So I basically went almost 2 years without having sex with anybody, and also 2 years without drinking with anybody. And I started talking with this girl, and she was like super into me and super hot and heavy and super love bomb-y. I think she was borderline or something psych or crazy like that also. But, I wasn't trying to go out with her. She was older than me. She had kids. And I worked with her. But after like 3 months of this girl liking all my shit on Instagram and like basically being my number one fan, and, we're always talking at work, I started to kind of catch some feelings, and I started to be really attracted to this woman. So I started going out with her, and it was cool, and we started hooking up and having sex, and the sex was incredible. But I think this person's like, I don't know, she's like narcissistic or borderline. She's got some stuff going on, because she was like, things were super hot and heavy for like 2 months, and then the affection dropped, and then we broke up, and then a month and a half later she's back, we get back together, same thing. She's being super sweet and loving, and she's treating me like the kind of woman I want to have in my life. But then after like a month and a half, when she has me, like, she goes back to just being avoidant and not really being lovey-dovey and not giving me the affection and attention I need. But I'm still staying around. And the reason why I still stayed around is because the sex. Even though towards the end I wasn't getting much of it, but I got enough of it. And I realized through this relationship the pull that sex has on me. And I think a big part of it is that I don't have casual sex anymore. I don't hook up with people. I don't drink alcohol. And I think the dopamine receptors in my brain have reset. So when I have sex, it's almost like I can pair bond again. And I feel that deep connection with someone. Because even though the red flags for this woman were there from the start, I still stuck it out for like 8 months, way longer than I should have. Even though in the back of my head, I've always known it was going to end. And it's over now. I'm looking back on it. And the lesson that I've learned is, I have to conquer my lust. Maybe that's going to be me going on some no-fap journey, and not just beating my meat for a long-ass time, or maybe just quitting, period. I don't really watch much porn anyways, but I'm definitely not watching any more porn. And I'm pretty sure the next woman I date, I am not going to have sex with her until we say I love you first. We're gonna say I love you first, or we're gonna wait until we're married. But I cannot have sex with just any other random girl, because this woman wasn't even a quality woman. She wasn't the life partner I deserved. But I gave her a chance and way too much benefit of the doubt because I got attached with sex. I let sex, the appeal, the pull of sex, it got to me. So, my friends, my brothers, everybody out there, the lesson here is be careful who you sleep with and who you share your body with, you know? Because there is some connection there. And the more you don't sleep around and the more you don't do things like drink alcohol and fuck with your dopamine receptors in your brain, the higher your ability is to attach to someone with sex. And if you're someone who feels empty because you're fucking everybody and you're just having sex all the time, and you just, because you're doing that, nobody ever seems important to you, and you always end up feeling lonely and you never find a relationship, it's because you're sharing your body way more than you should be, and those receptors in your brain are fucked up, and the pair bonding doesn't work anymore. And I realized I still have that in myself, and I realized that I'm still capable of like pair bonding and having monogamy and loyalty to one partner. So the lesson here, guys, is don't just fuck anybody, you know? Like, I mean, if you're younger in your 20s or your teens, sure, get some experience and, you know, experience a little bit, but don't get caught up in it. Don't go overboard with it, and try and catch yourself when you're staying with a woman just because the sex is good and just because you have that connection there, even though everything else is bad and there's so many other red flags. Because that was me just now. Like, I'm not proud of it. I'm 33. I'd like to think I make better choices, and I make a lot of damn good choices, but I did fuck up with this one here a little bit. You know, could have also done better with my boundaries. But the lesson here, guys, is sex is powerful. Don't use it lightly. Don't throw it around lightly, you know? Like I said, it's going to be us men that set the precedent for women to follow. Because when we stop fucking around with all these girls, they're going to stop fucking around with all these guys. And then we can get back to a place to where there's actually good men and good women in the world. And there still are. Not many, but there still are. So my brothers and my friends, these are my heartbreaks, my relationships, all my lessons I've learned. Lesson 1, don't settle. Lesson 2, don't judge a girl by her past, and don't dig too deep, and don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. Lesson 3 is love and let go. And sometimes relationships are good until they're not, and when it's over, you know? And make peace with that. Make peace with that. Lesson 4, don't lose yourself to substances, don't lose yourself to drugs. Don't lose yourself, guys. Take care of your mental health. Meditate now, work out now, cut back on the booze and the weed now. Don't ruin a good relationship because of drugs and alcohol. And lesson 5, guys, sex. Don't fuck around. Just don't do it. It's hard. I know it's hard. We want to do it, but it's not going to get you where you need to be. And if you're anything like me, you want the real thing. You want a wife. You want a quality relationship and partnership with somebody. And yeah, that's going to conclude this episode here, guys. If you found value in this, please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your viewpoints are. I love you guys. I will see you on the next one. And here, feel free to enjoy some of my drive with me. Sun setting. I love y'all. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away. Cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Got a buildup of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way.